Hi, this is Chirag Shire this side. Uh, I hope all of you all are very, very safe and taking good care of yourself. Let us begin with the correction of your test one for Science 1 exam. Before we start with the correction, I would like to remind you while you spell the word improvement, the first alphabet of the word is I. So you have to involve yourself completely if you wish to improve yourself. Simple meaning is while you correct this paper, please be very honest with yourself. That will help you to improve. Let us begin with the first question. So, as we see below there, the first question is fill in the blanks and rewrite the complete statement. So, when you write your answer, the entire statement has to be mentioned. The question was after discovery of Eka boron was named as, after discovery, Eka boron was named as. And the answer, my dear friends, is scandium. Right? Kindly make sure that the spelling of the word scandium is correct. If your spelling is incorrect, if you do not write the statement, if you've not underlined your answer, in all the cases, you will get a 0. So you either get a 1 or you get a 0. Right? Let's move on to the next question. We have the next question. State whether the following statement is true or false. If false, rewrite the statement. The question was very simple. According to the modern periodic table, groups are the horizontal rows of the elements. Let us see the answer. The answer is false. And the corrected statement is, according to the modern periodic table, groups are vertical columns of elements. If you've written false only, you get half a mark. For the explanation or for mentioning the correct answer, you get another half a mark. So only false, you get half. False with the correct answer, you get one full. And needless to say, if it is true, that is, if you have written true, you have to give yourself a 0. Let's move on to the next question. The next question says, fill in the blank and again rewrite the complete statement. So the question is, the SI unit of gravitational constant is dash. And let us look at the answer. The SI, System International Unit, of the gravitational constant is Newton meter square per kilogram square. Of course, you have to mention the squares and you may write the entire unit in full as well. So you may simply write NEWTON meter square per kilogram square. That is absolutely allowed. But any other answer except for the one that's mentioned here, please give yourself a 0. I again would like to remind you, writing the complete statement, writing the answer, and underlining the answer is compulsory. If you haven't done anything of this, please give yourself a 0. Also, please do not try to discount yourself by saying मैंने न्यूटन मीटर स्क्वायर तो लिखा है, सिर्फ kg लिखा है, kg square नहीं लिखा. So if you haven't mentioned the square wherever required, it is straight away 0. Right? So please be very careful. Like I said, honesty is the best policy. Let's move ahead. So the next question that you see on your screen there is state whether the statement is again true or false. And if false, please write the correct statement. The question was, light has different velocities in different mediums. Let us see the correct answer. So the correct answer is true. Light for sure has different velocities in different medium. I'd just like to highlight the velocity of light depends upon the density of the medium. Let's move ahead to the next question. It's obviously, if you've written false, you get a 0. And if you've still corrected your false statement, which is absolutely not at all false, you still get a 0. So you get a 1 full only if you mentioned true, like it's mentioned on the answer sheet here. Let's move ahead to the next question, as I said. So the next question was, choose the correct alternative. Let's see the question. It simply says the periodic time t of a planet and the distance of the planet from the sun is r. Then according to Kepler's third law, which of the following alternatives are true? The answer is the first one, which is t square is directly proportional to cube of r. Moving to the next question. After tracing the path of light through glass prism, a student marked the angle of incidence, angle I, the angle of emergence, angle E, and the angle of deviation, that is angle delta. That symbol there is called delta, as shown in the diagram. The correctly marked angles are, so you have to make a choice out of the 4 options given to you. The correct answer is the first one, the second one, I'm sorry, which is angle of incidence and the angle of emergence. If you allow me, I would like to highlight here that since you have this angle of incidence is the angle between the incident ray and the normal. This is the angle of emergence, which is between the emergent ray and the normal. However, please note that here this ray of light is diverging, or should I say it is refracting, and hence this angle over here should be the angle of refraction, and this angle over here is the angle between the direction of incident ray and the direction of emergent ray, and therefore should be called as the angle of deviation. I repeat, the answer to this question is angle of incidence and angle of emergence. If you've done that, then please give yourself 1 mark. If you've chosen any other answer, I need not say, please give yourself a 0. Let's move ahead to the next question. So the next question that we have here is, a ray of light strikes a glass slab at an angle of 50 degrees with the normal. I repeat the question. It's a very important statement here. Please pay attention. It says a ray of light strikes a glass slab at an angle of 50 degrees with the normal. So they're simply saying the angle between the incident ray and the normal is 50 degrees. So further we read, continue, 50 degrees with the normal to the surface of the slab. What is the angle of incidence? The correct answer, my dear friends, is 50 degree. Like I said, the angle between the incident ray and the normal is very clearly given as 50 degrees, which we all know is called as the angle of incidence. Let us go to the next question, which is the 4th question. Today, dash elements are known to the scientific world. And the correct answer for this is 118. 118. The next question. The zigzag line in the modern periodic table is in dash. So in which of the blocks does the zigzag line lie is the question. And the correct answer is the P block. So if you have chosen the right alternatives for all the 5 questions, please give yourself 1 mark each for them, which will finally take you to 5 marks in the question A, 1A B part. Moving to the question number 2. The question number 2 wanted you to attempt any 5 of the given questions. Assuming if you've attempted the first question, which is a distinguish between weight and mass, the solution is very clearly mentioned here. There are 4 points that are mentioned in the answer paper. You need to write minimum 2 points. I repeat, Since the question is for 2 marks each, you need minimum of 2 points for writing a distinguish. When I say 2 points, I'm talking about 2 pair of points. Here what you see on your answer paper is 4 pair of points. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to compulsory mention minimum 2 contrasting points for a correct distinguish. If you have done that, please award yourself with 2 marks. If you've written only one pair, then please give yourself 1 mark. Also, if I had to give my opinion, I would always suggest or recommend you to write the definition points for any distinguish. That will always give you the brownie points when the teacher considers a couple of small mistakes here and there. The definition written in the distinguish will always take you through the other side. So I repeat, if you've written any 2 out of these 4 points, you are free to award yourself 2 marks. But please make a note, your points of distinguish have to be contrasting. So if I have to mention the SI unit and the CGS unit for weight, then the contrasting point for mass should also be the SI and CGS unit of mass. I hope my instruction is clear. Let us move on to the next question. Main question number 2A, second question was a question based on definitions. I need not tell you, definitions need to be word to word. So if you are not really comfortable doing that, please remember you minimum, I repeat, you minimum need to have the keywords in your answer with the correct sentence formation, which does not change the meaning of your answer. So unless you're capable of remembering the keywords, framing them into a sentence that does not change its meaning, please stick to the textbook. If you are capable of doing the required, then you may choose to frame your own answers. But let me remind you, you will always have a risk of losing marks when you do that, especially for definitions, statements, or laws. So I would not really recommend you to do that. Let us move ahead. So the definition of centripetal force, if I had to mention the keywords there, then it could be the force. So the word force is very important here for a body moving in circular path. So another word here is circular path. And the next or the last is towards the center. So the 3 keywords for this definition should be force, acting on a body which is in a circular path, and the force has to be acting towards the center. So if you mentioned all the 3 keywords and correctly framed them such that you haven't changed their meaning, then you may choose yourself and award yourself as 1 full mark. However, if that's not the case, then please do not award yourself or reward yourself with marks there. I would suggest it's either 1 or it's a 0 if the definition doesn't really make sense. Let us go to the second question. So the second question was acceleration due to gravity. The keywords for the second definition, if you had to take my opinion, are the gravitational force. So very important word here is the gravitational force results in acceleration. So when the gravitational force results in acceleration, this is called as acceleration due to gravity. So there are 2 main keywords according to me over here for the second question, which is the gravitational force and results in acceleration. So please, if you have written those keywords with the correct sentence formation, which does not change the meaning of the definition, please award yourself with 1 full mark. In any other scenario, if it does not match with the correct meaning, please Do not give yourself a half. For definitions for laws, I would rather go with black and white. There is no gray there. It's either completely right, full one, or it's not adequately correct and therefore has to fetch a zero. Please help yourself honestly. Moving ahead, we go to the question number 3, which I am sure is a favorite amongst all the kids, a numerical. I am very clearly saying it should be a favorite amongst all the kids. The numericals in physics are very simple. You just need to know two things in every numerical. Number one is the formula that you need to use for that numerical. Number two, which is actually much more important than number one, and that is to identify the given data and writing them with the correct symbol. So let us see. This is what we had in the question. The mass of the first body, which we can represent as m1. The mass of the second body is given to us. The r, which is the distance between the two bodies, is given to us. It is given to you in the kilometer unit. I have to remind you, all the units in a numerical for the grade 10th while you are solving should belong to one system of measurement. So if the masses are measured in kilograms, the distance has to be measured in meters. That's because we are following the MKS, or should I say the SI system of measurement. So please make sure you've converted kilometers to meters correctly. Moving ahead, the value of G is to be taken, even though it's not given in the question, or at times it may not be given in the question. Please make sure that you remember the value of G for yourself. There could be scenarios where the value of G may not be given. So these are the values that are given to us. We need to substitute these values. If you've identified all the values correctly, please make sure you can consider yourself as the work half done. Next step, which is another very important step, is mentioning the formula. So if you've mentioned all the given information correctly and mentioned the formula correctly, then you may award yourself 1 mark. Moving ahead is the substitution, which is a basically pick up and drop scenario. The substitution done correctly and finally worked out to a correct answer, which is written in a full statement format. A correct answer in a full statement format gives you another 1 mark. So if you have to break this up, all the given information and a correct formula will give you 1 mark. A correct answer with, of course, the correct substitution will give you another 1 mark. The correct answer for this question is 2 into 10 raised to 20 newtons. You have to mention the unit Newton. If you've not mentioned the correct unit in any numerical, you may argue to lose only half a mark. But if you were to take my opinion, please do not take that chance. There are teachers that we are aware of who will not agree on giving half a mark as well. So please be very careful of your units. Also, in this particular numerical and in the numericals from this particular chapter, please remember, you do have a certain amount of liberty, or you can take a certain amount of liberty to round off your numbers. So please round off your numbers so that the calculation becomes slightly easier. The correct answer, I repeat, for this question is 2 into 10 raised to 20 newtons. Moving ahead, if you got the correct answer, correct data, correct formula, correct substitution, you can give yourself a complete 2. Stick to a format of writing the numerical. The format will always make sure that your numerical looks a lot neat, plus gives you those additional brownie points or the additional marks that you need to get for steps if in case even if your answer is incorrect. So I repeat, if you even if your answer is incorrect, you may still get marks if you follow a correct format. Let us move to the next question. The next question, my dear friends, was a diagram based question. Now, let us talk about the first question. The first question is the laws of refraction. I need not tell you, since I've already informed earlier, laws need to be as given in the textbook. So please try and make sure you use the same words in the same sequence, or in simple words, remember it as it is. You may choose to rewrite it in your own words, provided the meaning doesn't change, which is always a very difficult place to walk on. So please be careful on that. If you've written both the laws absolutely correctly, I repeat, if you've written both the laws absolutely correctly, then you can give yourself a mark. Moving ahead, the next question is state the formula of refractive index of second medium with respect to the first medium in terms of velocity. If you've written the formula also correctly, then give yourself another mark, which together will take the answer to 2 marks. You may argue that the definition or the law or the first part of the question is very lengthy and the second part is quite short. So if your first part is correct, you may argue to get 1.5. But ideally, when a question is framed, it is always given equal weightage. So the first part of the question has to be for a mark, and the second part of the same question has to be for another 1 mark. If you've written both the parts correctly, which is the laws, both the laws and the formula, everything exactly as required, then you may give yourself complete 2 marks. Moving ahead to the next question. The next question is give one example to show the similarity of hydrogen and the alkali metals. The question has an answer which is exactly what you see on your screen. Following examples show the similarity of hydrogen and alkali metals. So those examples need to be mentioned for you to give yourself full 2 marks. Moving ahead to the question number 6. The question number 6 simply is asking you to verify whether the given group of elements is a Dobryna's triad. I think we must all be aware in a Dobryna's triad, the average of the first and the last, I beg your pardon, the average of the atomic masses of the first and the last elements should be the atomic mass of the element in between, if not exactly, at least approximately. But if you calculate the average of magnesium and strontium, the average works out to be 55.95. However, the element in between is calcium, which has an atomic mass of 40.1. Since the values don't match even largely, therefore, this is an example to prove that Dobryna's triads was not the correct way of classifying the elements. Moving ahead to the next question. So, next question says, show the actual and predicted properties of gallium, that is Eka aluminium, with respect to the following points. If these are the questions, this is your answer. That's the answer that you see there on your screen. Answer to the question number 7. The atomic mass for Mendeleev's, according to Mendeleev's, should be 68 which has turned out to be 69.7, density 5.9, which works out to be 5.94, the actual value, that is melting point he had assumed should be low, or he had predicted should be low, and the value for the melting point of gallium is 30.2, which is on a lower side, of course. And lastly, the nature of oxide should be an amphoteric oxide, which is what gallium really exhibits. Hence, if you've written all the answers correctly, only then you can give yourself a 2. Even if you've written one of them incorrect, deduct half a mark for yourself. So each A, B, C, and D is for half a mark each. If you've written 3 correctly, that should be 1.5 mark. If it's 2 correct, then half plus half is 1. So that is your question number 7. Let us move to the next question. We go to the next question. It says, attempt any 2 of the following questions. Total, it is for 6 marks, which means each question that you attempt will be for 3 marks. The first question is, the force of gravitation between the two bodies having irregular shape is taken to be the distance between their dash. The correct answer to this question should be the center of mass. For irregular bodies, it may not always be the center of the body. It should be the center of the mass. Moving to the second part of the first question of the question number 3 is, if the distance between the two bodies is tripled, distance increases, how will the gravitational force between them change? The answer to this question should be as per the calculation given here. Please help yourself and verify the calculation. F dash is the new force, which after calculation works out to be 1/9 of the original force. So should we say the new force is 1/9 of the original force, which automatically means the new force will be much lesser than the older force. Distance is more, gravitational force will drop. Moving ahead to the third question. The third question that we have here is, the mass M2 was reduced to 50%, and the effect was that the force exerted on M by M1 on M2 was found to be 20 newtons. What will be the force exerted by M2 on M1? So when a mass is reduced, the force was given a particular value by M1 on M2. They want us to find the force by M2 on M1. The answer to this question is again only 20 newtons. So the amount of force remains the same. If you've written all the 3 answers correctly, please give yourself 3 marks. However, if you've made a mistake in any one out of the 3, you will have to reduce 1 mark for yourself. So 2 out of 3 correct will give you 2, 1 out of 3 correct will give you 1, and 3 out of 3 correct will give you full 3. Let's move to the second question of the third main question. The second question of the third main question was my favorite. Very clear. It's black or white. Definition. The word definition should be exactly as it is given in the textbook. I mean, the answer for such a question should be as per given in the textbook. If you choose to make the answer by yourself in your so-called own words, please remember to mention the keywords. The keywords for this question could be change in direction, going from one transparent medium to another transparent medium. I repeat, 2 keywords or 2 set of keywords, change in direction while going from one transparent medium to another transparent medium is called as refraction. So if both the keywords are mentioned, you may give yourself 1 full mark. Moving ahead to the B part of the question. Give scientific reasons why the planets do not twinkle. So the answer to the question is mentioned here. The answer has to have all the 4 points. However, if you've mentioned the keywords of the 4 points and made them into 2 points, you can still give yourself a full 2 mark. Let us understand what are the keywords that are important for this question. They are much closer. So planets are much closer as a keyword. They do not appear as a point source as another keyword. I repeat, when a body is much closer, it automatically becomes an extended source of light. So the word point source, they are not point sources, is also a keyword. The third point has these keywords: change in the atmospheric refractive index, or you can also call it as changing atmospheric uh, refractive index. Fine. Changes the position and as well as the brightness of the individual point source, which is not the case with planets. Hence we say, but the average position and total average brightness remains unchanged. So the keywords which I would say for the point number 3 is that the average position and the average brightness is not changed or remains constant for planets. As a result, planets do not twinkle. Writing the concluding statement whenever there is a give reason is very important. You either start the question or the answer as planets do not twinkle because, or you end your answer as hence planets do not twinkle. But the conclusion statement has to be or is necessary for a give reason. I repeat, if you've written all the 4 points very clearly, or if you've written all the keywords very clearly, please give yourself full 2 marks. If you've missed the keywords, please reduce your marking to 1 mark. If the complete idea of the question or of your answer is different from the one that's mentioned here, please give yourself a 0. Let us move ahead to the third and the last question that you had to attempt. The third question in the main question number 3 was explain the Newlands law of octaves and give the Newlands octaves table up to calcium. Again, my favorite. It is a law. Has to be as it is. A law or a statement given by a scientist cannot be in your own words. Fortunately or unfortunately, we are not Newland, neither are we Dobriner or Mendeleev, and hence, please make sure when there is a statement or law which is presented, suggested, given by a scientist, it has to be in his words. The answer to this question is as follows. There you see all the 5 points mentioned along with the table. So this is the complete answer to this question. Please make sure that you have this third point, a very, very important point mentioned in your answer, which very clearly says every eighth element had properties or had to have properties similar to those of the first. So if you've mentioned this, you may give yourself the marks correctly. Moving ahead to the next question, and that is the main question number 4. The main question number 4 had first question, which is again a definition. A definition for dispersion of light is as follows. The keywords for this definition is process of separation of light. So I would say the word separation of light into its component colors, separation of light and component colors, while it is traveling from a medium is called dispersion. So the keywords here could be separation, component colors. Fine. If both these words are mentioned in the correct sequence with the correct sentence formation, you may give yourself one full mark, two full marks. Moving ahead to the second part of the question, state any three phenomena of light which are needed for the formation of rainbow. The three phenomena are as follows: dispersion, total internal reflection, and refraction. This is a 5-mark question, my dear friends. If it is a 5-mark question having 4 parts, A, B, C, D, 1 out of the 4 parts will have 2 marks. For questions like these, where they have categorically mentioned, state any 3 phenomena, this question B automatically gets a better marking valuation than the remaining 3 points. So you may choose to yourself to give full 2 in the B part if all the 3 points are mentioned. Even if you've managed to correctly verify or correctly state 2 out of the 3 phenomena, you may still give yourself a 2 mark in the B part. A part has to be a black or white, which is the definition is correct, all the keywords present will give you 1 mark. The third part of the question is name the colors of light A and B. The answer to this question is violet and red respectively. I would recommend you mention which are which, meaning they ask us A and B. We say A is violet and B is red. So please make sure you mention A is violet, B is red, rather than using the word respectively. Next, we go to the fourth answer. The fourth question, first of all, was rain droplets act like dash. The answer to this question is prism. Only if you've written the word prism, you get 1 full. For any other case, give yourself a 0. You cannot have prism-like objects in air. It either has to be a prism or whatever else that you've written is a 0. So I repeat, the definition is correct. Give yourself 1 full. If out of these 3 phenomena, you've managed to write 2 of them correctly, you may choose to give yourself 2, which is fine. The third question was violet and red. So I would suggest you to mention A is violet, B is red. If you've mentioned both of them correctly, then please give yourself 1 full mark. If you've mentioned only violet or only red, give yourself half a mark. Just a case, fine, just a scenario. If in case you've not written the correct spelling of the word violet, you will only get half a mark for the word red. Last is prism, the correct answer. Again, if you've not mentioned the spelling of the word prism correctly, give yourself half a mark. Let us go to the second main question of the question number 4. The second question was state modern periodic law. It is a law. You cannot have a type of law. So it has to be exactly as mentioned in the textbook, which is properties of elements are a periodic function of their atomic numbers. This, my dear friends, is the modern periodic law, and hence I would recommend you to mention it in the heading of this point. I repeat, for this point, you have to mention in the heading that it is a modern periodic law. Even if you've not mentioned, but you've written the law absolutely correctly, feel free and absolutely proud to give yourself full 2 marks. However, for future references, for next exams, for upcoming tests, I would always suggest to write the heading for a point which has a definition or a law. Coming to the second part of the question, which is for a greater valuation, explain the demerits of Mendeleev's periodic table for 3 marks. You will have to have at least 3 points out of the given 4 points. I repeat, you need to have at least 3 correct points out of the given 4 points in the answer paper. If your 3 points mentioned are absolutely correct, feel free and happy to give yourself full 3. At the end of this small little video, I hope you have honestly gone through your paper. An important part of the correction is to learn your mistakes and ensure you do not repeat them. So please go back to your paper, make it a point to highlight your mistakes for your own self. Remember, I in the word improvement stands for yourself. You choose to improve yourself. That is the day when you shall really come out with flying colors. Thank you so much. This is Chirag Shire signing off. See you very soon in the lectures. Please take care of yourselves. Make sure you remain happy and keep smiling. Bye bye.